Fastest Rising Podcast and all of pro wrestling. Welcome to the Tucker Chin Podcast. Today we got a big episode. First, I'm going to bring in our very special guest, Mr. Dan Maff from ROH. How are we?
How are you doing? How are you guys doing today?
Good, man, good. And then
just make sure my camera's straight over here.
Just if you could bring it up a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good?
Like that. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And then, of course, we got Mr. Steep Stone and Julian here. Oh, there's an echo there.
What's up, everybody? Podcast. Fastest Rising Podcast. All professional wrestling, sports, entertainment. You know the drill. You are in for a banger episode. So sit back, relax, get what you need.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll just take turns asking questions. Steep, you want to go first? Because you're... Go for it.
Better at this. He's better at this than us.
Who were your idols growing up when you were watching wrestling?
My idols growing up watching wrestling. I was a big idol of a lot of heels in the business. I was always a fan of heels. I was kind of tricky. I grew up wrestling, watching a couple of different avenues of wrestling. I watched Florida Championship Wrestling, the NWA, anything from Puerto Rico, and the WWF. I would say I was a big fan of guys like Don Morocco, Jimmy Snuka, Superstar Billy Graham, Ric Flair, of course. That's well documented. But I think Don Morocco was probably my first favorite heel. I really enjoyed watching Sergeant Slaughter, the whole anti-American thing. It was just funny. It's a funny story. I was probably the only guy on my bike. I think I, as a matter of fact, I did get into a fight in my neighborhood because I was the only guy who actually was cheering for the Iron Sheik when he beat Hogan for the title. When he beat Bob Backlund for the title. I'm sorry. So I was always my fandom was always with the heels, but Don Morocco was my guy.
Yeah. Julian, you want to ask the question?
The question. All right. Yeah. So this is one of the biggest questions we always have for all of our guests, and there's
Can we get a drum roll?
So, there's a lot of amazing wrestling maneuvers in the sport of professional wrestling, but here on the Tucker Chin Podcast, we like to focus on some of the good and some of the bad. So right now, I'm going to ask you one of the bad. What is your opinion on the wrestling move, the overdrive?
The overdrive? You have to explain that to me. What's an overdrive?
MVP's finisher.
Who's finisher?
The playmaker, MVP.
I like MVP, man. MVP is a great guy. We get along. Nothing but respect for MVP. But hey, it's a hell of a move. I think it's unique. It's effective, and he can hit the move on anyone. I don't consider it a bad finish. If done well, which obviously MVP does it very well. It's very appealing, and it probably sucks to take. I wouldn't want to be on the end of I wouldn't want to be on the end of an MVP finisher. I love him to death, but I wouldn't want to take his finisher.
Yeah. So when did you decide you wanted to be a wrestler?
I decided probably in, I would say, somewhere around early on as a child. My father was a referee and a promoter in the late 70s, early 80s. And I think, not giving my age too much, but I think it was probably around 1977 when
Wow.
I decided I wanted to be a professional wrestler. And I actually took my first bump in a wrestling ring, probably in 77 to 79. And, a little kid in the wrestling ring. And my dad would always scream when I went near the ring. But, I would go in the ring before shows, and you couldn't keep me away from it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Steve?
What is one advice you would give to up-and-coming wrestlers, how to form a character and have that connection with the audience?
First and foremost, I would advise anybody who's looking to be a professional wrestler, just to make sure that this is what you want to do. You have to want it, you have to feel it. You have to have a certain respect for the business. Learn the lineage, learn everything that's happened, learn the history, go back to where it all started, go back to the 70s and before that. Learn the business, learn how to respect it, and always respect it. Also, timing is everything. Timing is everything, and it takes certain people a lot longer than others, to make it. Just never give up. I always say tough times last. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. And I think that's a cliche that, pretty much sums it up with probably every wrestler that's made it to, any level of success in the business. Tough times don't last. Tough people do, because you're going to go through a lot of tough times. It's very gratifying. It's something that you gotta love to do, but also you have to eat a lot of crap. You have to pay your dues, and sometimes it takes other people longer than others. And there's probably a plethora of wrestlers out there that I can think of off the top of my head that deserve and should be on television and are not. So like I said, just patience. Wait your turn, have patience, and tough times will last. Tough people do.
Yeah. That's good advice, man. That
Very
really
good advice.
Julian?
Ooh, I gotta think of a good one here. Favorite opponent you faced?
Favorite opponent?
I'm sure there's a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of an unfair question, but my daughter just asked me this question probably yesterday.
Wow.
I've had some great matches, a lot of great matches that the world even hasn't seen yet. Probably my greatest opponent, I would have to say, would be Mario Boccara. And I say that because I think we bring out the best in each other. There's a ton of respect between us. There's a lot of love. There's endless love between us. He's like a brother to me. And I think it would have to be Mario Boccara. Which would probably be, my greatest opponent, But then I could also say I've had incredible matches with Jay Lethal.
Yes.
I've had incredible matches with Jay Lethal. I've had incredible matches with Matt McIntosh, the Bad Apple. I've had incredible matches with Anthony Bowens. I've had, I only wrestled this guy one time, and we blew the roof off a sold-out Rawway Rec Center. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but the Rawway Rec Center is probably the Madison Square Garden of the Independents. And when I wrestled Bobby Wayward, I never heard the Rawway Rec Center any louder than what it was that night. But definitely, and as a tag team, I would have to say, that it would have to be Santana and Ortiz. The matches that I've had with them, were incredible. They were always learning experiences, and we always brought out the best in each other.
Yeah. How about you versus Bronson? Bear Bronson.
I'm gonna tell you something. Bronson would probably be my toughest opponent, because that is one tough son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Bronson's young. He is a product of the Creative Pro Wrestling Academy, which I am one of the coaches of.
Yeah.
And Bronson has got the goods. You talk about someone who's got it. He has the it factor. He's big, he's quick, he's agile, and there's not a damn thing that he cannot do inside those ropes. And I would like to say, if there's anything that's ever going to stop Bronson from getting to a WrestleMania or to a Tokyo Egg Dome, it would have to be himself, because he's just destined for greatness. He's got money written all over him, and he is one of the gems in the sand, that comes out of the Creative Pro Wrestling Academy.
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about Bear Bronson.
Yeah, I was there when you teamed with them against shit. I'm gonna forget the team.
I don't think shit's a team.
It was against the Breakfast Club.
Yes.
Breakfast Club. Yes.
NCC. I was there. Yeah. You're a badass, bro. I'm just gonna put it out there, dude. You're fucking.
Thank you very much.
No problem, man. So what got you into wrestling?
This will probably be a long-winded answer, but basically, I was born into the business, man. I was born to do this. My father was a referee / promoter. My father was employed by the New Jersey State Athletic Commission. And he did a lot of work for what, quote unquote, was the WWF's B and C shows, which weren't even house shows. They were just B and C shows. They would just travel to towns, and they would do, like the Jersey City Armory, the Convention Center in Asbury Park, Dickinson High School, Bayonne High School, things like that. So my father, being a licensed referee, he was, because back in the day, in the late 70s, or should I say the 70s and early 80s, New Jersey events had to be sanctioned by the New Jersey Athletic Commission. And there was a commissioner by the name of Robert E. Lee. And I remember that very well because, I remember my father having to deal with the commissioner and a lot of times, arguing and things like that. But I remember it very well. And my father took his job very serious. And I used to go to all the towns, every show with my father, and I loved it. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. I would sit there. I would watch only as a fan, but I would watch how the guys prepped, how they got to the building. I would watch them open their bags. I would see how they would act. I would see different nuances that they would do, different characteristics with different guys, from Sergeant Slaughter to Andre the Giant to Professor Tor Tanaka, to all sorts of legends. Butcher, Paul Vachon, and guys like that. And like I said, it was just, I was so lucky and blessed, to be around that, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it from even before I can remember. My mother,
day one.
My mother likes to tell stories that she used to go to the Garden, and my father used to take her, and she would sit there and she would watch, because my father would referee the undercard, so she would watch. She would watch. Oh man, the Russian Bear. Ivan Koloff versus Bruno Sammartino. Pedro Morales versus the Russian Bear. And stuff like that. So. Yeah. And my mother, who had a big belly like this, she was 8 months pregnant, but she was up. She was screaming, and so she said it's probably her fault that I grew up such a wrestling fanatic, but yeah, it's in my blood, man. It's in my blood.
Yeah.
It's what I am.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Steve?
Who was your biggest supporter in helping you achieve your dream, becoming a wrestler?
My biggest supporter. I probably didn't have one. I'd say myself. My mother hated it. She didn't want. She knew what the business kind of was with my father and stuff, and the guys would come over and she would see what they were like. My mother didn't want it that for me. My father definitely did not want it for me. My father wanted me to become a police officer or something else. He told me the business was not for any young man who had aspirations of being successful or anything like that. He said, you'll never be 6'4", 350 pounds or 330 pounds. You'll never be a Tony Atlas, or you'll never be a Hulk Hogan or a Bruno or a Pedro. To him, these guys were like larger than life, and he didn't know that. My father was 5 feet tall, 185 pounds, maybe 200 at most. He'd never probably fathomed that his baby boy would grow up to be 6 foot, 300 pounds, and would weightlift like an animal, I really didn't have a supporter. I remember a friend of mine who I worked with, a coworker. His name was Sammy Palat, and he would tell me, say, "Hey man, I think it's really cool that you're chasing your dream and everything, and just be careful, man, don't get hurt." And count my blessings. I really never got hurt too bad. Bumps and bruises here and there, but it's just for me to say I had a supporter. I really didn't have one. The family, would make fun of me more than anything. Oh, here you go. He's going to go wrestle. He's going to, do you even make any money doing this? You're getting beat up for nothing, this and that, So wrestling isn't the most glorious thing. You really don't see a lot of reward early. Like I said, it's a long road, which entails a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance. And going back to what you asked, your first question, of what advice I give to someone, I forgot one that I mentioned to a lot of my students now, and that's you absolutely must be more stubborn than the roadblocks that are put in front of you, because you're going to get a lot of roadblocks. If you're not really into this, and if it's not your obsession, your magnificent obsession, like CT Fletcher says, if it's not your magnificent obsession to be great, then don't do nothing at all. You got to be great. There's going to be a lot of things. You're going to make a lot of sacrifices. You're going to miss a lot of dates. You're going to miss a lot of birthday parties. You're going to miss a lot of bar mitzvahs, a lot of, weddings and so on and so forth. That's what you got to do. You got to go out there and you got to entertain people. That's what you do. You get paid to entertain.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So to answer your question, I really didn't have a lot of supporters. I don't think I had any. It was just me wanting to always be that guy that I saw on TV. Me wanting to be that guy that when I would look in the mirror and cut those promos in my bathroom, it was me. So I really didn't have a lot of supporters. Now I have an incredible support system now. My wife is wonderful. She's a saint. I couldn't ask for a better human being on the planet. She's probably the nicest human being I've ever known in my life. And she's, an incredible supporter. You know, my children, you know, all my daughters support me. They love it, you know, and you know, they know, you know, that I'm gonna, you know, go in there, and they know it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be physical, and you know, they know that sometimes Dad comes home and he's banged up on the couch for a couple of days, but you know, that's my job. That's what I got to do.
Yeah, man. Julian?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to really back off that, like, it really does take a lot of sacrifice to, you know, make your dream come true. And it's, like, I've seen that with a bunch of, like, wrestlers, and we've talked with a bunch of those wrestlers. Like, it takes a lot. It takes a big toll on your body and, you know, your mindset of the wrestling business. It's just like, if you really want this, then you got to work your ass off to make it work. And yeah, yeah. But I guess for another question, God, I'm terrible with questions, by the way. So, but Mike, you go. I have to think of a good one.
I got you, man. I got you. So, how did you come up with the name Dan Maff?
How did I come up with the name Dan Maff? All right.
Yeah, I told you I was gonna bring the questions.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
I was standing in South Philadelphia at the Murphy Rec Center, and I believe it was maybe 2001 or something like that. And we were a couple of shows in, and it was for Ring of Honor. And, you know, the Hit Squad kind of had already run its course a little bit, and Gabe Sapolsky, the booker / story writer boss of Ring of Honor at the time, was thinking of a name. He was like, well, you know, I think you need a change. And, you know, if you go into this, you know, I definitely see this and this, you know. So when he was selling me the whole, you know, singles gimmick, you know, breaking out of the tag team and going singles, he was like, what are we going to call you? I was like, I don't know. I was like, my real name? He's like, what's your real name? I told him my real name. He was like, no, maybe not. I said, okay. So he was like, he's like, so, you know, so somebody walked by. He said, hey, Maff, how you doing? So I said, that's it. He's like, that's it. I was like, what? That's it. He's like, Maff. I was like, you're going to call me Maff? He's like, yeah, Maff. I was like, Maff? He's like, no, we're going to call you Danny Maff.
Dan.
Okay. Well, he said, well, who was your favorite wrestler growing up as a kid? I said, Don Morocco. He said, Dan Maff. There you go. There you go.
Wow.
Can't see the comparison. I was like, okay. He's like, I could definitely see it. That's it. He said, hey, what do you think about Dan Maff? He's like, yeah, that's great. There you go. See, somebody likes it. There you go. That's it. So that was it.
I think that was the funniest story on how someone came up with their name.
it
It was just
I came up
randomly. Hey, what's up, Maff?
Yeah. Because, you know, my name before that was just Mafia when I was at the Hit Squad.
Ooh.
It was Monster Mac and Mafia. That's why nobody, hey, Mafia. Nobody called me Mafia. It was say, hey, Maff, what's up? So, bingo, that was it.
Yeah, man.
I think I got one.
Go for it, man.
So, like, out of all the wrestlers you've trained, like, which wrestler do you think is for sure you think is the future of the wrestling business that could take professional wrestling to a new high?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Out of all the wrestlers I trained, well, I helped. Okay, out of all the wrestlers I trained.
Or helped.
I would have to say, you know, I have a lot of incredible students.
Oh yeah.
You know, I have so many great students. You know, there's a couple of them that just come to mind. You know, that I've really had a deep hand in training, and you know, a couple of them come to mind. You know, like Anthony Bowens.
Yeah.
Anthony Bowens he is what he says he is. He's a 5'2" player. I mean, he's got it all. He's got the look. He's got the body. He's got the genetics. He's got the makeup. He's got the intelligence. He's well spoken. He's smart. He's got a wrestling acronym that's through the roof. He's a good student of the sport. He knows the business's. He knows the business's roots. He studies. He asks a lot of questions, and he's not afraid to take chances and fail. That's also a big one. You have to be able to take chances. You ask any champion or anybody who's ever been successful, they just weren't good at it.
Right.
You failed, but it's how you answer, how you get up after you fail, how you answer, how you come back from that. I'll say, Anthony Bowens really stands out. A lot of guys that I helped train, man. Bobby Wayward. Jesus Christ, man. Bobby Wayward. He's, the guy, this guy is a legitimate monster. He's incredible. There's nothing Bobby Wayward cannot do. Nothing.
For sure.
He's incredible. There's TJ Crawford. An incredible talent. The guy that I got, I got to get my hands on him and train him from scratch. A guy, Nikos Rikos.
Yes, I interviewed him. Love that dude.
Let me tell you something. Nikos Rikos is probably, I'm so proud of seeing the finished product. And he's got a lot to learn still. But just seeing the finished product, like I tell him, I can't teach you anymore, but I always end up explaining something that he's never heard. But he's an endless student of the game. Endless. And he's a bottomless pit for seeking knowledge. And that is very important, because if you're coachable and if you have such an eager aptitude and you want to learn, the veterans will reach out and will help you. Like I said, Nikos Rikos, Bobby Wayward, and Anthony Bowens were just and TJ Crawford, I'm sorry. They were just CJ Crawford. They were just such a joy to coach and to teach. They actually made it so much fun to go to work and to show it and to teach these guys. And there's also there's a kid that's coming up that he's not ready yet, but he will be probably this year, and his name is Josiah. Prince Josiah. This kid's got it. He's very coachable. He's always thirsty for knowledge. He's very respectable. Nice young man. But like I said, this is, I believe, for a long time. I was like, this is my calling. I'm here to move the next generation along, and to get it ready. Not that I'm going to make, the next John Cena, or I'm not going to make the next Eddie Guerrero, or, I'm not going to make, the next Dusty Rhodes, but I'm just, I want to teach what I've learned, and I want to get these young men and women ready to, go to do some extra work, or to wrestle in front of a WWE coach, or to go to a WWE camp and actually be ready, not make fools of themselves, and represent the school well.
Yeah. Steve?
How would you say over the years, not only just being a part of wrestling, but watching wrestling, how would you say the company has changed? Like, the quality of wrestling, or just the fan base itself, or the way it's being presented? What difference do you see from when you was watching back in the day to now, seeing how it is now?
You talking about every company in general?
You can say that.
Just the whole sport of wrestling.
Yeah, just professional wrestling itself.
All right. Well, let me start here by just saying this. Puerto Rico. They still believe. It's a territory where they still believe in good and evil. So they believe in the hero, and they believe that there's a villain. There's not even a heel and a baby face over there. It's just a hero and a villain. This is our hero. This is the guy that fights for the greater good. And this is the villain that came to burn the entire village down and set all the churches on fire. That's what they know. That's what they believe. And that's what makes it so interesting and so hot to work over there. And anyone who's any wrestling fan or aficionado, I recommend watching or Googling IWA Puerto Rico and WWC and all those things, and just watching how the wrestlers feed off of those crowds. It's incredible. Moving on to look at what NXT has done. Look what Triple H and NXT has done for wrestling in general. With the UK, the UK is a totally different world of professional wrestling that no one even knew existed. And look at all the talent that's come out of the UK. Look at all the talent that's come out of Japan. So wrestling, as far as what it was then to what it is now, okay. We're never going to come back, and we're never going to see the cigar and smoke-filled Madison Square Garden where everybody's sitting in front row smoking a cigar and smoking cigarettes. We're not going to see that anymore. We're not going to see the people who show up with the suits and hey, wrestling was a suit and tie affair. But what we do have now is passionate fans. Wrestling has a passionate fan base, and it's at its all-time high. There's all types of fans. There's female fans. There's male fans. There's a male demographic, that's in their 40s and over, and there's another demographic that's in their 20s to their 30s, and then there's the teenagers, and then there's the kids. There's a little something for everybody. But where wrestling has evolved, yeah, it's evolved. It's gone through changes. Listen, there was a time where everybody stood. Bob Backlund was the leader of everything. And then we went to the red and yellow with the prayers and the vitamins. The prayers, the training, and the vitamins. But then you had the horsemen on the other side of the country. You had a flamboyant Ric Flair, and you had Arn Anderson, Ole Anderson, Tully Blanchard. You had those guys. You had Dusty Rhodes being the working man, and you had Russians. And then you went to another era where it was, hey, Doink and Mantar, and the Repo Man, and all that stuff. And, and you had a Hacksaw, Jim Duggan. I love him to death, but you had all of these guys. You had Coco Beware. You had Jake the Snake Roberts. You had Duke the Dumpster Droese. You had Doink. You had all of these different characters. And then you had the Rock and Wrestling connection. Where it was, wrestling goes through eras. Then you had the Attitude Era, which I believe was the greatest time in wrestling ever. Either they say okay, Attitude Era or the Ruthless Aggression Era. I think the Attitude Era totally kicked ass, and was way beyond the Ruthless Aggression Era. So I guess wrestling goes in spurts, and then I don't know. Let's see what happens now. The world totally, the world right now is shut down and there's no wrestling. But let's see what comes back now. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. How did ROH get affected? Is there still tapings going on with no people, or is everything done with ROH?
No, ROH has taken a strong stand, to take care of its wrestlers and its fans, and they decided to put things on hold until everything gets figured out. And it's, to be honest, they don't want to move forward until they're 100% sure that the wrestlers, their employees, and the fans are all safe. And and there probably won't be any ROH shows until they 100% guaranteed are totally confident that all of those questions can be answered and everybody's safe and sound.
Okay. Yeah. Dream matches.
Dream matches.
Yeah. Past,
Okay.
current, people in ROH you haven't faced yet, WWE, AEW, Indies, whatever you got.
Well, there's a ton of guys on the indies that I never got to work. There's a lot of guys that I didn't get a chance to work that I really wanted to work. It just never happened. I always wanted to work against Walter. Never got to happen. I never got to wrestle Matt Riddle. I never got to wrestle Chris Hero one-on-one. There's a lot of guys that I really wanted to wrestle. I even got into, I was lucky enough, to wrestle, Gargano and Ciampa and Dijak, which is Dijakovic now, and Keith Lee, and guys like that. But there's always a wish list of guys that I didn't get to wrestle. But wow, of course, I would have loved to wrestle Ric Flair. I would have loved it. I would have loved to wrestle Jimmy Snuka. It's just those things. I would have loved to wrestle somebody like Ronnie Garvin. And of course, without question, I would have loved to wrestle Kenta Kobashi. That's something that I always wanted to do. And that's something that I really, really wanted to do. And someone who I really want a piece of and I would love to wrestle would be Roosh. I would love to wrestle Roosh, and I think it would be an incredible match. And I think that would be the day that he would become former Ring of Honor champion. It's the day that he steps in the ring with me.
Ooh.
So, I don't think anybody's got. I think I'm the perfect headache for Roosh. I'm resilient. I'm experienced, and he's not going to take me out with a drop kick. That's all I'm saying.
Oh shit!
Oh, that's a call out.
Yeah.
And he's not going to smack Danny Maff around. It's just.
It's not possible.
He can sit there and smack me around all day, but he's not going to get any results because I like that.
If he does get a result, it's not going to be a good one.
No.
See, he knows. So anyone in WWE or AEW you'd want to face?
WWE or AEW, Triple H. I would love to work Triple H. He's one of my favorites. With all due respect, he's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
He's just everything from the footwork to everything. Like, I think he's the benchmark. If you look at a professional wrestler, it's Triple H. It's guys like Randy Orton. It's guys like that who are the benchmark. It's just the way it is. That's like the upper echelons. That's the Mount Rushmore of the business. You can't talk about a Mount Rushmore without having, Triple H's head on there. It's the current WWE, who I would love to wrestle. Like I said, I would love to wrestle Walter.
Okay.
Dude, that would be a pretty intense match, you against Walter.
Yeah.
I think Maff would win. I have my money on Maff.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not gonna tell you. Hey, maybe I think I could beat Walter.
Yeah, you'd have to have some backup because he has Imperium.
You never heard Mike Tyson say, "Well, yeah, maybe I could beat this guy." No, he went out there and beat him. That's what he did. And if he didn't beat them, he bit their ear off. You know.
How about you versus the Fiend, Bray Wyatt?
Like I said, I'm such a great fan of Bray Wyatt and his father, Mike Rotundo. I think he's incredible. Just listen to the promos that he says, the things that he says. His character is just unbelievable. It's incredible. Like I said, I have nothing but respect for him. He's one of my favorites. I love to watch whenever Bray Wyatt or The Fiend does anything on TV. He's got my 1,000,000% attention. He's one of the things that I enjoy the most about watching WWE right now.
Yeah, he's amazing. Definitely,
he's amazing, and he's so big and he's so agile, and he's like I said, he's incredible.
Yeah, Steve.
So it's been over a year since this happened. In 2019, when Ring of Honor made it to Madison Square Garden for the G1, what was your reaction like hearing you guys were going to be in, the world's most famous arena?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't a part of Ring of Honor yet at the time. I was still doing the independents. But let me tell you, and I've asked this within the locker room. The feeling was it must have been absolutely incredible because wrestling in a sold out Madison Square Garden has got to be the pinnacle of anything. And if I'm hoping that we go back one day, because that'll be like the end all be all for me. That'll be like making it. That'll be hitting the lottery. That'll be everything to me. That you'll be wrestling in the most hallowed ground in the world. It's the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, they call it that for a reason.
Kudos to anybody who got to be a part of that. I just saying, if it goes back again, I would love to be a part, and I would do everything in my power to be a part of that.
Yeah.
That's
Julian?
amazing. Yeah. Funny thing I like to bring up. Remember at that Ring of Honor show when Enzo and Cass got involved, got the crap beat out of them by Bully Ray? I remember that.
I wasn't there, but I did hear something of that. Like I said, I wasn't there, so it's not even fair to me to comment on that. I wasn't there, so I really don't know what happened.
Yeah. That they're trying way too hard to be relevant when they're really not. But I guess I could ask should we go into I want to go into the music part of it.
Man.
So,
I still got a few more wrestling questions, but yeah, go. You can ask a music question, man.
Well, this kind of goes in with wrestling as well. Favorite entrance theme of all time.
A favorite wrestling theme of all time.
Any era.
Probably have to be Hollywood Hogan's Voodoo Child.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
got a Jimi Hendrix fan.
Yeah, probably my favorite entrance music of all time. Let me think. Yeah, I think that would have to be it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a good one. Do you prefer working as a heel or a baby face?
I think we know the answer to
I
that.
spoke about that today with my daughter. I think being a baby face is so hard.
Yeah.
Because you have to have that sympathetic appeal. But I'm a different kind of baby face. I'm like the new breed of it. I'm like that new, straight up ass kicker, baby face. But, whether you give me a choice to work baby face or heel, I think I'm more comfortable with being a heel. Only because I believe that's my comfort zone. All of my friends, all of my buddies always say I'm a great baby face, but I believe like my true comfort zone is being a heel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen you as a heel, dude. You're a badass heel. Definitely.
Thank
You
you.
can just get people to hate you just as soon as you walk out of the curtain.
Yeah. That's gotta be so much fun to just like because I know like talking with a bunch of other people, like trying to get over as a baby face is very, very difficult. But but when you're a heel, sometimes it can be super easy to get the crowd to hate you.
Well, listen, I mean, not everybody can pull it off, I
Advice for
don't
heel.
know, man. I know what to do, man. Is a heel. I love it. Maybe
have
it's
any
because
advice?
I just loved heels since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like I said, how many people do you know? Like I was rooting for Sergeant Slaughter in WrestleMania 6 when he worked Hogan, and I had a brother in Iraq. At Desert Storm, so like, I was rooting like for Hogan. Like I was happy when Hogan dropped a leg, on Macho Man, and he went with Hall and Nash. I was rooting for for Morocco, like when he came out of Rogers' Corner and Snuka did the dive over the top rope onto him. I was pissed off. I wanted Morocco to get up on Snuka. I was pissed off when I was rooting for the Sheik, when he wrestled Sergeant Slaughter, like I was cheering for the Sheik when he won the title. I was pissed off when Hogan beat the Sheik. So it's like I have a thing for heels, man. It's just I just like the way heels are, man. They don't take any shit from anybody, and I like that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. Steve?
For sure.
You know who's my favorite baby face of all time?
Who
was that?
Who would that be?
All right, I'm gonna let you guys guess.
All right.
Ooh, guessing game.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
I'll go
Julian.
first.
Who? You or me? I'll go
first.
first because I know I'm not going to get it right. Eddie Guerrero.
No.
Okay. Cool.
Incredible fan of Eddie Guerrero, and I think his work was second to none, and he's one of the greatest of all time.
Steve? He's not going to get it right either.
Benoit.
Nope.
Julian.
All right. Hulk Hogan.
I hated Hogan.
Cena.
I was never a Hogan fan, and I was never a Bret Hart fan.
I'm going to go with Cena.
Oh.
John Cena.
Cena?
Yeah.
I have all the respect in the world for Cena. I think he's one of the hardest workers in the business. He never got enough credit, and the guy does more for Make-A-Wish than anybody in the history of the business. And he's a hell of a person, a hell of a human being, but he is not my favorite babyface.
Ooh,
Okay.
Steve.
Come on.
My favorite. Oh, we still got some?
tell us?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you now.
Oh,
Here we go.
Failed.
I was gonna guess like Bob Backlund or something.
I hated Backlund. What are you, crazy? I was so happy when superstar Billy Graham smashed his belt to pieces. I hated Bob Backlund. I cheered against him every week. I was so pissed off every time he won. My favorite babyface of all time was a gentleman by the name of Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant.
Oh, I know him.
I
Boogie
would've
Woogie
never
Man.
guessed that.
Yeah.
Dude, he is unbelievable. He can make the crowd loves him. Like the
Dude,
amount of
when his
energy he
hair,
had.
when he had to sit there and let Paul Jones shave his head,
Oh,
and he
that.
stood there honorably because he lost the hair match. He was just, oh man, like I get goosebumps just thinking about it right now.
God,
Yeah,
that was a very big moment.
And my second top babyface of all time is Dusty.
Yep.
I was about to guess Dusty.
Yeah, I'm kind of like between a rock and a hard place because I was also a Horseman fan and a Horseman fanatic. So, Dusty was always getting his ass kicked by the Horseman. So I kind of had to root against Dusty. So I kind of liked when Dusty fought anybody else but the Horseman because I would root for Dusty. But I was just such an incredible fan of Jimmy Boogie Woogie Man Valiant. He is the top babyface of all time for me.
Yeah.
Then you have other guys, who are just incredible baby faces, like Ricky Steamboat, who never worked heel in his life.
Yeah.
The Rock and Roll Express. Guys like that.
I've met them.
Incredible baby faces. I had a chance to work with them last summer, and wow, it was probably the most amazing 20 minutes of my tag team wrestling life ever. Was working against the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah. Those guys are absolutely incredible. I had the chance to meet them like a decade ago. I got to meet the Rock. I got to meet a lot of legends a decade ago. Like I got to meet Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express. Like the matches those guys had were absolutely incredible. But I think one of my favorite tag team rivalries of all time would have to be the Freebirds and the Von Erichs.
Oh yeah, the Birds against the Boys, man. That's the biggest. That's like the the Hatfields and the McCoys. That's something that'll never die. That was it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Julian,
awesome.
go
I
for
also I loved Stan Hansen. Stan Hansen was incredible. I was probably one of my favorite wrestlers, of all time was Terry Bam Bam Gordy.
Bam Bam, yes.
If you only know what Terry Gordy did, as a Freebird, you have to see what he did in Japan. He probably had a bigger career as just Terry Bam Bam Gordy, teaming with Dr. Death Steve Williams and teaming with Stan Hansen and teaming with Bruiser Brody. He was one of the best. One of the best.
Yeah. Julian, go ahead.
I think he just told us our favorite faces and heels. Mike, Steve, how about we give him our favorite faces and heels?
Okay. Steve, you want to go first? I'll let you go.
You go first, Steve.
No, you go first. I gotta think about it.
All right, I'll go first. How
about this? Favorite faction of all time?
Oh,
that's even harder.
The Generation X.
For me, I'm NWO for life. For sure, NWO. Either that or the Bullet Club.
Okay. Go ahead, Julian. Well, I'll ask you a question if you want me to.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like one of my favorite heels of all time. Like, I mean, yeah, he did pretty good as a babyface as well. But Roddy Piper was probably one of the best heels ever in WWE. I mean, like, the crowd hated everything about him. Like Roddy Piper would said in interviews quite a few times, like fans wanted to hurt him. Like the crowd did not like him, and like that just blows my mind. Like, if you could get a crowd to hate you like that.
Was from WrestleMania before it was WrestleMania. Piper was wrestling Hogan at the Garden. That was like a WrestleMania, man. Piper Snooker. Piper was just such. He was if you look up Catalyst or Villain, it's got to be Roddy Piper. He wore a kilt. He could talk. He was loud. He was obnoxious. He was abrasive, and he was aggressive. So Rowdy Piper, and he wore brown boots. So how can you argue with that? But Piper was a complete badass, man. In that era, and he would get right in Hogan's face, and he didn't give a damn. He would smack the shit out of Hogan, and he would tell everybody that's what he was going to do, and he smacked the hell out of Mr. T. And he said he was going to do that, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rowdy Piper was a complete badass.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I got to spend the whole day with the Hot Rod, and it was just.
Tell us that story. I never heard that story. Go ahead, man.
Oh yeah, so it was actually a part of this whole big wrestling convention here in St. Louis. It was at like this casino hotel, and they had Hot Rod, they had Mr. Wonderful, they had Road Warrior Animals, Superfly. I got to meet Superfly, and just a bunch of like the old class like 70s, 80s wrestlers. I got to meet Terry Funk, which probably one of my favorite. Like they don't call him one of the big hardcore legends for nothing. Like he helped make ECW what it was.
Right.
And yeah, but like Roddy Piper's just like the fact that he was like, yeah, like, and I was like 9 years old, and like just seeing me just be be so happy, just like be with Roddy Piper that whole day, it was just it made my dream come true.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'll ask a question.
You ask a question because I've been talking too much.
So, favorite wrestling event you attended as a fan?
Favorite wrestling event I ever attended as a fan?
Yeah.
Wow. I gotta say, SummerSlam. I don't exactly remember what year it was, but I went to SummerSlam when Stone Cold wrestled Owen Hart, and I think the main event was Bret Hart against Taker.
99?
Something like that. I'm not.
Bret left in like 97, so that would.
Gotcha.
I feel like it was like earlier 1997, I think.
And I went to a WrestleMania. Rock and Cena at Jet Life Stadium.
29?
Yeah. And but you know what? Was probably better than those? I think it was a house show that I went to. And I got to see a good friend of mine work on the Garden. It was at Madison Square Garden, and I watched Charlie Haas work, and me and Charlie very good friends. But the main event was Hogan and Triple H. Yes, it was Hogan and Triple H versus Hall, Nash, and
X-Pac?
X-Pac, yes. Yeah, and they totally blew the roof off of Madison Square Garden. I remember the opening match was Christian versus DDP. Yeah, Christian versus DDP, man. I just had so much fun. We were sitting up close, and I really had a great time. And like I said, another time, I just last year, I got to sit front row and watch my both daughters' faces at a Monday Night Raw, and I just wanted to give them that. I was happy that I could give them that experience of sitting at a Monday Night Raw, something that they watch on TV all the time. And actually, Natalie walked up to my little girl and gave her the little ears and put them on her head. And that was really cool to see that. And my other daughter, who's 6'2", and yeah, she's 6'2". She got into a yelling match with what's her name? Lacey Evans. She actually got into a dispute match with Lacey Evans. But it was really cool to see them enjoy themselves the way they did. That will probably trump all the other times that I went to watch wrestling as a fan. Was that night. And my biggest regret was I never went to an ECW event live.
Oh, yeah.
Which that man, I wish I would have. I just never did.
Yeah. Steve?
Yeah, just as long as New Jack isn't there.
I love Jack. Man. Me and Jack's he's a hell of a guy.
He scares me.
Listen, that's Jack's job. Jack is a professional wrestler, and New Jack, is New Jack. What sets New Jack apart from everyone else is he's different. He does what he does. Not many people can do what he does. New Jack is New Jack. He was relevant for a long time. And listen, he's gotten a bad rap from people or whatever, but not with me. New Jack's always been good to me. As a young wrestler, as a young performer, New Jack always took the time, to pull me aside and tell me, what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. And explain to me, hey man, maybe this should be this way. You should take your time with this. I've never had a bad thing to say about New Jack ever. New Jack's always been good to me, and to this day, I could call New Jack and I could say hello to him and everything. He's totally being nothing but good to me.
Right, that gives me a little new perspective on him because we would see all these stories of what he did to these on the indie scenes. He would didn't he almost kill someone?
Listen, I don't. You piss New Jack off, you piss him off. Just like anybody else. It's just he's a human being. Like anybody else. And certain people's buttons you just don't push. Other people's buttons you can push. Some people are more passive than others. And some people are passive to a certain point. He's a human being just like anybody else. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't have anything bad to say about Jack. I love Jack.
Steve, go ahead, man.
When you were signed to your first indie promotion, what was it like being the new kid in the locker room?
That's a good one.
It was very nerve-wracking. I was at Jersey All-Pro Wrestling in Bayonne. And, I was in the locker room with guys like Lil Key, Homicide, and, Reckless Youth, and, guys like that. And, it's nerve-wracking. You're a bag of nerves, and you're very nervous. You don't want to step on any toes. You don't want to piss anybody off. You don't want to do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing. I was a big advocate of yes sir, no sir, and turn that light off. I was a big advocate of yes sir, no sir, and like I said, not pissing people off. Just fly under the radar, out of sight, out of mind. That was what I felt like as a young kid coming up.
Yeah.
Well, my first couple of times, in locker rooms.
Yeah. Julian?
Wait, wasn't it your turn?
I was kind of more worried about not living up to the respect of the business and maybe, making a fool of my dad or making a fool of the people that I was with. Like the company that I was with and making a fool out of my partner. I wanted to make them proud. I wanted to represent them well, and I didn't want to do anything that would make them look bad, so, and also, as time grew, so did our strength and solidarity, and our unit grew, and, it just took on a life of its own. We went from being the new kids on the block to being the guys who ran the whole yard. So.
Yeah. Julian, go ahead, man.
Man, this is this is honestly a really man. I can't.
Well, what you think? You're talking to Danny fucking Mafia, bro. What you think?
Yeah.
What you think? It's gonna be fucking boring?
I love all like these stories. Like I love wrestlers that could tell like a really really good story, and like these are some of the best stories I've ever heard like on this podcast. Like I thank you so much for like taking the time to talk with us. I really really appreciate that. But I guess I can. But we talked with like about like the best wrestlers you've worked with. Who are some of the worst or least favorite wrestlers you've ever worked with in the ring?
That's not fair. I'm not gonna say that, man. I'm not gonna say that because that's not fair. I wouldn't want anybody to say the worst, so I'm not gonna say that. I've been really lucky. I've had a real great time in the ring. I will tell you this though. In my entire career, I've had 2 intergender matches. One was a tag match. It was myself and JT Dunn versus Sami Callihan and his wife, Jessica Havoc. And the second one was a little more serious. It was a one-on-one. It was myself versus Chris Statlander. And which was probably posted last week on YouTube if you guys want to watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a watch.
It was one of my last matches towards probably right before I got signed with Ring of Honor. Let me tell you something. Those 2 women, man, wow.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about them. Working Jessica Havoc was, I think, working with her, for having to fight her was probably the closest thing that I could come to describe fighting myself as a female. She beat the living hell out of me, and she hit me so hard, and she would feel totally disrespected if you didn't hit her like a man. And she told me that, and I respect her to death. I love her to death. She's Jesse, if you're watching, salute to you. Nothing but respect. But I really enjoyed working with Jessica Havoc. She's an incredible talent, and I can't say enough about her. Chris Statlander, she is going to make a lot of money in this business. She's another gem from the Creator Pro, from our Creator Pro wrestling facility, and we're damn proud of her. And she's going to be a staple in professional wrestling in the future for a long, long time.
Yeah, man. Definitely. I've seen Chris Statlander live multiple times, and
incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. I had nothing but a blast working with her, man, and nothing but respect. And she went in there, man, and she gave me hell, and she asked for nothing less in return.
Yeah.
And that's what I gave her. And that match meant a lot to me. It really did. I had that match in front of my 2 daughters, and they saw it, and they know what it meant to me. They're like, "Dad, you're wrestling a girl." I was like, "No, I'm wrestling a professional wrestler." That's what I look at when I see Chris Statlander. When I looked across the ring from her and from Jessica Havoc, I call her Jessie. When I looked across the ring and I saw Chris Statlander and I saw Jessica Havoc, I didn't see women. I didn't see intergender wrestling. I saw a professional wrestler, and that's what they are. And nothing but respect to them.
Yeah. So how have you been keeping yourself occupied during this shitty quarantine?
Training my ass off. I have a personal trainer. I'm working on leg strength and explosion. hand-eye coordination,
Yep.
explosive power, and I believe I'll be quicker and more agile than I was before. I'm gonna probably come back a different animal. I now have perfected a submission finish. It's not only going to be Burning Hammer, but it's going to also be a submission finish. I think I'm going to call it the Gorilla Clutch, and you'll see it when it happens, because nobody's going to be able to tap out of it. Nobody's going to be able to get out of it. It's exactly what it says it is. It's a Gorilla Clutch, and people call me the Gorilla, and that's my clutch. So it's going to be the Gorilla Clutch, and
it's over for your opponents.
There's going to be some shit.
Okay. Steve,
what's it like having a match against someone who has a completely different wrestling style than you?
Oh, yeah, Steve's bringing the questions. Yes.
A good question.
Good question, because my last match at Ring of Honor before this whole quarantine happened was against Alex Shelley.
Ooh.
And that's a complete, total clash of styles right there. Alex Shelley is one of the best in the world. He's a technical phenomenon. The guy is flawless in what he does, and he is great. He's one of the best in the world, and I had the honor to step into a ring with him for the first time, in our careers. Wrestling guys like that is it's a monumentally huge challenge, because it's your style versus their style. And, he could twist you up into a pretzel, and I can knock your head off. So, I'm just a fan of clashing of style. I'm a fan of different styles. Styles make fights.
Yeah. Julian?
That's the beauty of what we do, as performers, as performers, we have to paint that picture to present to the crowd, and we have to keep you guys engaged, and we have to keep you guys excited and intrigued, and I think that Alex and I did that, and I had an incredible time wrestling Alex. I'll do it, 8 days of the week. I'll wrestle Alex Shelley.
Julian?
Yeah. God, I suck at questions.
Hey, we can keep letting Steve ask questions.
Yeah, Steve, you go a couple more times. I gotta think of one.
Yeah, you're gonna go for it, man.
What's your favorite match type stipulation? Like a cage match, inferno match, handicap match, triple threat?
I've done a few cage matches, and I love them. I love cage matches only because it's old school, and you're in a cage, you know what I mean, and it's all or nothing. But I believe, my favorite has to be a cage match, only because it's the build up. It's the cage being built. You enter the cage. Here we go. You know what I mean? But I'm also a fan of the street fight. No DQ, anything goes, man. Let's go. Break out the barbed wire chairs. Break out the guardrails. Break out the steel chairs. Break out the kendo sticks, the garbage cans. Here we go. Let's go. You know what I mean? Let's make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Let's go. You know what I mean? Let's go. Let's leave it all out there, and let's have an old-fashioned pissing contest. Let's see. You know what I mean? Let's man up. Let's go. And if you ever watch, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the cage match that I had with Pat Buck.
Yep.
You could tell probably how much I love to having cage matches. But the important thing is, if I'm going to do a cage match, I'm not just going to do any cage match. It has to be different. And if you watch that match, you will see that we did it differently. It's not just, hey, going out there and having a cage match. And that's no disrespect, to the legends of deathmatch wrestling, like Matt Tremont and Zandig and those guys. They are good. They are legends. They do it. They are good. They are the best at what they do. I cannot do that. I have not done that. But I know that if you're going into a regular traditional cage match, why have a cage match like everyone else? Have a cage match everyone's going to remember. And that's what I'm a firm believer of. Having it different, starting it different, finishing it different. And I believe that that's what myself and Pat Buck did. And that's one of the matches that I'm really, really most proud of, in my career, was all three of my matches with Pat Buck. We had a Maff Madness match where it was anything goes. We had a steel cage match where anything goes. And then we had the barbed wire match, which was the only barbed wire match I've had in my career. And, all three matches were probably three of the most epic matches of my career. It's probably three of my best matches, three of my best performances of my career, and you're only as good as your dance partner. And I was in there with Pat Buck, a guy who I respect and I've learned from a great deal. Pat Buck gave me a new life in the business. I did nothing but learn under Pat's learning tree. And I can't say enough about Pat Buck, and that's why I believe in his training system and I believe in his school. And he made me a coach. He's one of the best trainers that are out there right now. And he, like I said, he's currently, employed by WWE, and I'm happy. He's
I think he got released.
Well, yeah, he just got released.
Yeah,
he just got released about 2 weeks ago from, but I think they'll get hired again. When everything comes back. He's nothing but a good employee, and he's good at what he does. But those three matches, if you have a chance to watch those three matches, I suggest to watch them, especially now, when we're all bored out of our minds and doing nothing. Look up Pat Buck versus Danny Maff, and I guarantee you, you'll be satisfied.
I'm gonna get those on my to watch list. I'm looking it up right now. I want to see if they have all three. Steel cage, barbed wire. They only had the barbed wire and steel cage one.
Yeah, there was the first one that we did was Maff's Madness. Then we did the steel cage, and then we did the last one was the barbed wire match.
Damn, half an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, I see you, Maff. I see you.
Yeah.
Steep. Keep on firing them off, man.
If you could only rewatch one match for the rest of your life, what would that match be?
One of my matches, or just a match?
Any match from anywhere, any point in history, from any promotion, between any wrestlers.
One match.
I mean, you'd probably want to shoot yourself after watching it 100 times.
I would have to say it would have to be a match between Kenta Kobashi and Misawa. I could watch Kobashi Misawa all day because that's where it is. If those two guys fighting each other doesn't get your blood boiling and doesn't get you going, then you don't have a soul.
Yeah. Julian, you got anything?
Nope.
Steve.
Have you guys ever watched the Kobashi Misawa match?
I'm gonna have to give that a. Is that on
No,
YouTube
not really.
too?
I haven't.
I have not, actually. I don't think I have. I have watched Misawa before, but I haven't watched that specific match.
Kenta Kobashi versus Misawa. Trust me, you will become addicted.
I got one.
Go for it.
Here we go,
You know,
Joe.
Since you were talking about like a bunch of like international wrestling, like how it's big in like Puerto Rico, like the hero versus the villain. I'm curious about like your take on like we talked about the UK, but like what about Japanese wrestling? Like who's your favorite like Japanese like professional wrestler? Like it could be from New Japan. Okay.
My favorite Japanese wrestler of all time, Kenta Kobashi. He is God. God. Oh, God.
Steve.
All right, Steve.
That's God. That's God.
Okay.
Jesus.
Put it this way. I'm waiting for my American bully to be born, and his name is going to be Kobashi.
And he is going to be God.
My bully is coming here from California. He's ordered, and he is going to be Kobashi, a.k.a. God.
God.
That's right.
Go ahead,
I
Steve.
love that.
When you're not having a match and you're on your free time, do you ever rewatch or study one of your matches and see what you could do better or add on to make the match, pizzazz, like stand out from your last match?
All the time. Every day. I'm my worst critic. If people tell me, "Oh, this match was great," I will tell you after I watch it that I sucked. I sucked that night. I wasn't there, or I'm my worst critic. I'm very hard on myself, and I believe that that's what you need to do in order to be better. Never, ever rest on your laurels. Never say, "Hey, I was good." You can always be better. You can always be better. Always. Have you guys ever heard of Mariano Rivera?
Of course. From the Yankees?
Okay. The most prolific closer of all time in Major League Baseball, Mariano Rivera, number 42. Mm-hmm. Okay, he was asked once a question, what is the key to your greatness? How could you be great for so long? His answer was so simple and so simplistic that it blew my mind. He said, I have a short memory. He said, I don't remember my last game. He said, if I had a horrible game, he says, it happened. I can't do nothing about it. All I can do is move forward.
Yeah. Steve, anything else?
Wow.
I'm out of questions. That's why.
What?
I'm out of questions, and you're doing better than me and Julian did.
I can't think of shit.
Or Maff, do you have any questions for us? Maybe
I told you I would bore you guys after an hour.
We're not bored. I'm enjoying
this.
Has it been an hour?
Shit.
It's like an hour and a half. Right? We're not bored, man. We're just into this now.
Yeah. Should we get to the tuck your chin turnover, Mike?
The what?
The tuck your chin turnover. That's where we have the guests ask us.
Oh yeah.
Questions.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what we're calling it now. I
turnover.
told you this. I told you this last time we had this.
I have short memory.
Oh.
Yes.
God.
Okay, sure. Mr. Maff, do you have any questions for the three of us?
Japanese wrestling. Who's familiar with it?
I watched New Japan for a little bit.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. Do you guys understand where strong style comes from?
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, God. Someone asked me this like about a year ago.
Well, strong style comes from Japan. And in order for you to understand, I believe, in order for you to really understand Japanese wrestling and capture the buzz of Japanese wrestling, you have to go to like 1992, 1993.
Mm-hmm.
When Kenta Kobashi and Masawa were murdering each other, in the middle of the ring. And, you'll learn, I guarantee you will find a whole different respect for professional wrestling after you watch that era. Watch guys like, Bam Bam Bigelow, watch Stan Hansen. Yes, Bam Bam Bigelow, Terry Bam Bam Gordy, Dr. Death Steve Williams, the British Bulldogs in Japan. You watch Hogan in Japan, watch Andre the Giant in Japan. Totally different workers than what you were ever used to seeing here and watching them work here. Japanese wrestling changed my life.
Yeah.
I saw it one time and I was hooked. And the Great Muta in Japan, watch him and watch Tenru and watch, all of these incredible, fabulous, Japanese legends. You're really doing yourself a disservice. You're not. If you're not watching, even if you haven't watched Japanese wrestling from that era, you're really, 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 you're missing out, man. You're really missing out a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna give. I just looked up Kabashi and Mizawa, 47-minute match. That's gonna happen during a bad match during Raw tonight. I will watch that match.
Or if you really want to see something interesting, you can Google or you can YouTube Kabashi versus Sasaki chop.
Oh, Sasaki. Dude.
How do I spell that?
Where they chop each other straight for about 10 minutes.
God, it was brutal, Mike. It was brutal.
It's just a straight pissing
shit. I think I
contest.
found it. Oh shit! Yeah, I'm gonna give that a watch.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Yeah. God. Yeah, Japanese wrestling, it's amazing. It's so different than any other wrestling in the world.
It's a competition, it's a contest, it's a fight. And like I said, man, you'll understand where the wrestling from today has come from when you watch those guys. Because everybody now, from Samoa Joe to all the guys in NXT and all the incredible things that you're watching now, we have all been fans of that era of professional wrestling. Walter, all of those guys, they will always go back to that era. And it's a hell of an era, man.
Yeah. You got anything else for us, Mr. Maff?
Nah, man, just listen, just keep supporting indie wrestling. I thank you for your support, being fans of mine, and thank you for having me on this wonderful podcast. And I had a lot of fun doing it. And I had a blast talking to you three young gentlemen, and I hope that we can do this again sometime. And hopefully I'll get to meet you guys in person one day.
Hey, you'll see me if you come back to Cap in NY. So this is a point where we do our outro. So if you want to plug your social media, plug ROH, whatever you want.
Right. Hey man, you can find me on the Honor Club, Ring of Honor Wrestling. Get the app, click on the app and join the Honor Club. You can also find my merchandise and any other Ring of Honor Superstars merchandise on the ringofhonorproshop.com. You can also find me on all social media platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Just type in Danny Maff, and I'm not a hard guy to find. Like I said, thank you everyone for your support, and hopefully I will see all of you soon.
Yep.
Hopefully we will be in a ring in front of a camera very soon, entertaining all of you and doing what we love to do.
Yeah. Julian.
You guys stay safe and ride this pandemic out.
Of course, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. Social distance, wash your hands, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Julian.
All right, guys, you know what it is. Thank you guys very much for watching, listening, however you do it. The Tuck Your Chin podcast, the fastest rising podcast in all of professional wrestling. Thank you, Dan Maff, for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Steve, Mike, as always, it's a pleasure talking with y'all as well. Go subscribe. Go follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Go follow the Moshcast as well. That's our heavy metal, punk rock and roll podcast. We're going to start working on some more stuff for that channel soon. And, go follow my Instagram as well. at Julian Purnell _HOH. That stands for Hounds of Hell. Yeah, I'm Christian and I'm part of a group called Hounds of Hell. But anyway, I'm gonna have to pray after this.
As always, or no, or not today?
Not today, dude. Yeah, I know. Usually my outro would be like doing like a heavy metal scream, but I just can't do that right at the moment.
Steve?
Yeah, anyway, thank y'all for watching. Steve,
That was my
You
metal.
guys know what
you
time
know
it
what
is.
to do.
Tuck Kitchen
You know what to
Podcast, fastest rising podcast, all professional wrestling, sports, entertainment. You know what it is. Subscribe to the Honor Club. Look up Danny Maff. Go check out, support his matches, get his merchandise at Julian Purnell _HOH at Mike.Shift. Also, Mike Spam. Get that. We want that podcast. We want that booming, that account. You know
Don't
what
follow
it
it.
is.
Yes! That's
Guys,
it.
like, comment, share, subscribe, tell your friends, hold the banner up across your window, light it up on a billboard, whatever you got to do, because we are #1 in the world, baby. We're going to get there. Tuck your chin. You know what it is.
He's the plug. That's why we had our plugs out. Yeah, but thanks guys. Thanks Dan Maff for coming on, man. We'll definitely get you on again eventually, man. Once all this shit's over. When you have that title belt, when you do get it, we're gonna get you back on.
That's right.
Yeah. See, when, not if. When.
Mike, get your leg out of the camera.
Oh, my bad.
That's a very hairy leg.
I thought that was a blanket.
You thought it was a blanket?
I thought your dog was sitting on your lap.
Well,
I thought it was a cactus.
Oh shit. Okay.
Well, thanks guys
That's funny.
for watching. Thanks again, Dan Maff. Check him out on Instagram. I'll put his Instagram in the bio below so you could go follow him and all that stuff. Subscribe, like, comment, share, tell everyone, and keep tucking your chin, guys, like usual.